Hi, hi everybody. Welcome and thanks so much for joining this episode of Planoly Presents. We're so excited for everyone to be here today. This workshop, we are focused on something that I think we're all striving for, both personally and professionally, which is growth. So we are thrilled to have a Pinterest expert here with us to walk everyone through how to uh, drive sales through your holiday campaigns. So we have Vix, who is the founder of Agency 6B here. We're so lucky to have her. She was recently named one of the Forbes Future 1000 list honorees. So really amazing to have her here with us. While we're getting started, if y'all just want to drop into the chat box and make sure that it's on all attendees and panelists where you're coming from, we would love to see where everyone is logging in from today. And then also, if you are not familiar with Planoly, this is your first time that you're here with us. Planoly is all about simplifying social marketing for small business owners, creators, and brands just really looking to grow their presence on social media. So we help you plan, schedule, and visualize your posts before they go live. So with that, we're focused all on Pinterest today, as you could see here. We wanted to tell you guys just a little bit more about our Pinterest planner, which a lot of our diehard Planoly users, we found out actually aren't that familiar with Pin Planner and had only really been focused on Instagram with us. So that was one of the inspirations for this whole series. So wanted to quickly show you guys, you can see this, my screen, showing you how our Pin Planner works in action. But basically it's, it's an easier way to manage your Pinterest content and it really helps you plan out your campaigns so that it's a lot less daunting, right? And that's something that Vix is also going to be, speaking to, giving you guys lots of tips and tricks to get your holiday campaigns up and running. I know I'm really excited for the holidays. I've already started pumpkin shopping. I'm curious to know if anyone else has too. But also just with Pin Planner, of course, we wanted to share with you guys our different plans that we have available. This is across our whole Planoly ecosystem of all our amazing social planning tools. So that's just a little screenshot for you guys of how our plans run. We really pride on ourselves on being an affordable platform for whatever stage your business is in. So I know before I joined the Planoly team, I actually was a Planoly customer and used our free account because we were at a scrappy startup. So we have all sorts of different pricing ranges available for whatever fits your need. And then also today, because it's the holidays, we feel giving. We want to give everyone here a month free of Pin Planner. So you can use that code holiday pins to get your first month free. And then let's see, I'm not used to using Keynote, so apologies as I stop sharing my screen here. And yeah, with that, we also just wanted to make sure you get to go over some housekeeping rules while we're in here. We really pride ourselves on our Planoly community and how everyone really supports each other. So obviously just keep it nice and friendly. And then also we love for you guys to network, but we do ask that you save the chat box so that everyone can focus on the presentation, and we'll be sharing our Facebook group link with you guys. So you can drop in, looks like Payne's already on it, sharing our Facebook group with you guys. So you guys can drop in your information to network there. And then let's see, last thing here, if you guys have any questions during the workshop, we're going to have a Q&A at the end. So make sure to drop in your questions there. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our amazing host today, Vix. And And I'm excited to sit here and learn with you guys too from her. So thanks so much for joining, Vix.
Thanks so much, Catherine. I appreciate it. Thank you for the intro, and hello and welcome, everyone. I am really excited to be with you today. We're going to go over the gift of growth. I know Catherine is going to help me out with any specific questions in the Q&A or the chat, and I know Peyton's got our back there as well. So I will be available too in Facebook afterwards to, if you have any questions or anything that we don't get to. I'm really happy and excited to make sure that you've got everything you need to make the gift of growth work for you this holiday. Okay, so a little bit about the company. Agency 6B is a full service marketing, advertising, and content production company. We generate revenue for our clients through communications, right? That's what we do. We use different tools, and I have been using these tools for nearly 2 decades to help businesses, brands, and entrepreneurs really figure out a way to connect with their ideal customers and then monetize that connection in a way that is measurable and also sustainable, right? It's hard. We're all dealing with that shift. So when you think about how you're using your platforms and when you think about where you're putting your resources, this is a good time to really reevaluate that. And as Catherine shared, we were just named the Forbes Next 1000 class for this quarter. So I am super thrilled. This is actually a picture in our Jersey City HQ and picture of our Jersey City HQ and production house that we have. It's a mural that I had designed by a local artist. So a little bit about me. I launched Agency 6B in 2015 as a 6-figure business in 6 weeks. Prior to that, I was digital producer at ABC, NBC, and Telepictures. I'm trained as a journalist. I'm a storyteller by design and a marketer by love of the craft. I love understanding what makes people tick. And Pinterest is a great place to do that because so many of us are visual learners. So I'm really excited to kind of go through that with you. I opened our first physical space, which you can see over here when I latched onto that trend. And we'll talk about latching on to different content trends today as well. I opened that space at the end of last year after an incredible growth during our pivot. And then we opened up this space in early 2021. And I'm really excited for what's happening in 2022. So we use Planoly for our internal marketing, right? We use it for some of our clients as well, but I really like to use it for our marketing. Our current channels are getting like a cleanup. So we're getting ready to hide a bunch of things. We did this on our Pinterest, and now we're gonna kind of revamp with a new look and feel, which you're actually getting to experience before anyone else. It's all this beautiful, like light, pretty, thought-provoking, we hope, content. So what we love is, the IG planner is great, helps me take some time away from doing everything manually. We like the stories edit because I try to share as many stories as possible. And then with the pin planner, I like it because you can go ahead and schedule your pins so you can do what you do best and what we do best, which is grow our business. If any of you manage other brands in the audience today, you know that your brand oftentimes is the one that comes last. So that's why I love using using Planoly for all these needs. And we use Keep. We're a Keep certified partner. We use that as our CRM and other tools related to data. And we use Pinterest to drive people onto our list. We also use Typeform. And I believe that Typeform, another visual tool, we use Video Ask. You'll see it on our site. Site's getting redesigned, which is very exciting. You'll see how we kind of use this to help people get a better sense of who we are and how we do things. And then today's agenda, or tonight, depending on where you are in the world. So we're going to talk about how to use Pinterest to grow your brand awareness. So we'll talk about the strategies that I've used to help clients grow their business and what we're planning for Pinterest in 2022. And then 12 steps to 12 days. I love a good routine. I love a good process. So we'll talk you through that. And then some monetizing your pins. I'll talk you through some of the things that I've done over the years. I've been managing Pinterest for clients since you needed an invite. Remember those days? Who remembers those days on Pinterest or Twitter or any platform for that matter? And I think, when we had the great Facebook outage earlier this week, I felt that it was so interesting to think about, we're talking about a platform that maybe you're using a lot, maybe you're considering for your holiday campaign, or maybe you just feel like it's something that you don't ever get to, this is something that I talk a lot about with our clients. So I'm really excited to be able to make you think about diversifying your brand, diversifying your lead generation, right? Because all this is about brand awareness. It's about helping people better understand who you are, what you do, and why you could be the brand, service, product, you name it, for them. So how to use Pinterest to grow your brand awareness. So one of the things that I think is really important to understand is that from the perspective of marketing, right? We're talking about the overall funnel. So we've got top of funnel, mid funnel, and then bottom of the funnel. Top of funnel really is all about like discoverability, brand awareness. And for me, I like to make this as easy as possible because not everybody does marketing every day, right? So if there's any terms or things that I say that you don't know what I'm talking about, want more clarification, pop it into the chat. I've got it on another screen over here, lucky enough to be living that 2-screen life. So I can make sure that, as we go through, I can answer any questions that you have. There are no bad questions. I believe there are only unasked questions. So I'm really happy to help you with that as we move through. So when to use Pinterest for your brand? Well, we often talk about for shoppers, right? So if you want to connect with people who want to shop, Pinterest is the place for you. If you're trying to build up traffic to a new store, it is the place for you. So many times we'll talk with our clients and they'll say, well, I launched the store, but I don't have any sales. And I understand, right? We think, oh my goodness, we put in all this effort. But if we're not driving traffic back, or if we're not really explaining where we want people to go, we have to train our audience. And Pinterest allows us to do that because we can clearly and neatly organize our content buckets in boards or on boards. For reaching new demographics, so Pinterest is for the planner, not just the Planoly pin planner. It's also for the saver, the savvy shopper. So when you think about your content personas, right, the people, the human beings that you are trying to bring into your brand's ecosystem, you have to think about individuals who fall into this category, right? They're saving for later, they're planning, they want to get ahead of the curve, and they also really like to discover new things. So we also do it for brand awareness. And this is, I think, the best stat. And if you are working within an organization where you're trying to justify spending resources, time, money, creativity on the platform, over 97% of all Pinterest searches are unbranded. So it means that you have an opportunity to shine, right? It's not like people are searching for, I mean, they are, but it's not like they are exclusively searching for Nike or they're exclusively searching for specific products, right? Maybe they're searching more for white sneakers or, cool sneakers for kids, things like that. So you have a great chance to stand out, especially during holiday when big brands are spending the majority of their paid budget on all platforms. You have a chance to kind of get ahead of that curve. So it's also what I like to call a collective selling engine. So if you post consistently and often, you have the ability to really get a sense of how your branding and how your explanation of your services and products allows your audience to connect with you, right? So there's a lot of different words that we use, there's visuals we use, there's so much data that can be kept and tracked from Pinterest and also from all of your efforts. So this will help you get really clear on what are they actually responding to, what can I test, and where can we go once I have the data to work with? Catherine, if we've got a Q&A that needs to be answered before we move on, feel free to jump in. I'm gonna keep going through, but if you want me to hit up that one, just let me know. Be clear about the categories. So what is your unique selling proposition and how can you display that visually? So one of the big things that I focused on first when I started using content to sell, right? Because conversion means a lot of things to a lot of people. Conversion is someone going on your list, someone clicking through to your website. Conversion is somebody following you on Pinterest, somebody following you on Instagram, somebody sharing your stories. These are all actions along the process. But for businesses, and if you are focused on your revenue, conversions are cash, period. Like you have to be focused on what that looks like for you. And it looks different for everyone. So the unique selling proposition, especially when it comes to Pinterest, is something that you can display that sets you apart in a way that really resonates with your ideal consumer. So for example, if you're working with like a designer, right? A home services designer, a closet organizer, these are industries that have had quite the boom in the post-pandemic, or I don't know, are we calling this like pandemic soup? I don't really know. Post-pandemic, pandemic, continued phase, right? This pivot, as you will. So if you're working with someone like that and they have the ability to make sure that when they leave, everything is even better than the customer presented it to them, right? Like your drawers will be so organized, you won't have any issues getting ready in the morning, right? That is a unique selling proposition that a specific demographic will really connect with. So a board for that demographic would be all about home organization. I'll talk about what I did with This Old House magazine, both as an intern when I was still in college, and then when my agency took them on as a client many years later. We'll talk a little bit about some of the presentation, some of the pins that we use that continued to grow. But one of them was a Catio. So we did a how to build a Catio. Does anybody have a Catio? I'm always fascinated by this. It was one of the most popular pins for a really long time for them because people were so interested in building this. Now, I also want to know how many people didn't just pin it, but they actually built it. I think that's a whole other conversation for another day. Oh, I love it, Lily. Leah, Catio, I love it. Did you build it from Pinterest? That's my next question. And was it the pin that I pinned years ago? Would love to know. So connection and longevity. Most social is so fleeting, and we humans, consumers, right? Because we are both creators and consumers. We are so distracted these days, right? Humans are, period. There's so many studies on this. So how do you make sure that your content is sticky and also that your brand is sticky? You use platforms where the longevity and what I often call the half-life is much longer. So each pin can drive up to 2 page visits and 6 page views. And Lilia explained, yep, she built it from Pinterest. So what we would often do is if we have a step-by-step, you can build a pin for each visual that you have, video, photo, like a title card, if you will. Everybody calls those different things, but you can then continue to increase the traffic because it's going to the same article. And that's what we often found an editorial performed best. So here's an example from This Old House. My first ever piece that I got paid to write was about world's wildest and wacky houses. I'm a big This Old House fan. I was super excited to be doing this, but why it does so well, like you can see, they have over 400,000 followers here. And all of these pins do well because they're so visual, but then they also really think about the elements that are interesting to their ideal consumer, right? So like home inspection nightmares, you would not believe how many people love this. It literally gives me nightmares. And we actually went back and forth on different pins here. I remember because some of them were a little too spooky, even for the internet. But this is something that they do consistently. This is a series that they still do. And it's something that really still drives traffic back. And it's not necessarily their core product, right? But it is a product that the audience is interested in. Another example, when I was working as a digital producer at Bethany Frankel's talk show, she had a talk show for a while in the like 2012, 2013 range. She had great nail art. And this really was before like the nail art became a big piece of content. She used this, and the one that's circled on the bottom is actually my nails, like literally my nails from that time period that launched the whole series. So I think that it's interesting that this is still here, right? After all this time, and it's something that people are still using to continue to grow her brand. She doesn't even have the talk show anymore. She just uses this for her brand. So we have one quick question from Eve, posting 15 to 20 a day when you're publishing 3 blogs a week. So from a general content marketing perspective, every blog that you create should yield 15 to 20 social posts that can be used across multiple platforms. So if you are creating those blogs, right, you have different section headers. That's a pin, that's an Instagram post, that could be a video. It could also be something that you share as a GIF, right? Something that moves, or a GIF, however you want to say it. And it really does come down to planning, which is what we're going to talk about in these next steps. So the power of three, this is something that I have always used, and it's something that I use in our planning, right? When we work with clients, we do 21-day cycles over 90-day sprints, 21 days, 3 weeks, 90 days, 3 months. This is actually something that Steve Jobs and Franklin, there's a bunch of different articles on this, the most highly productive people, right? There's a ton of articles about how we as humans sequence things. And if you think about it, like a phone number is 7 digits, but you mostly remember the first 3, the second 3, and then usually the end. So it's really playing with the psychology of what makes people remember something and how you stay sticky in someone's brain. It's not always about, for some brands it is, but it's not always about big logos and, you know, very specific slogans like just do it from Nike. Yeah, we all know that that's associated with that brand, but there are a lot of other subtle things that slowly become part of the conversation, like Uber, right? Or FedEx. I know when I'm saying like, let's send something quickly, my mother's a lawyer. And when I was a kid, that's how we sent it, right? Because she needed her paper sent that way. So that became part of my conversation. So that's immediately what I think of. Do we sometimes use UPS? Yeah, but I still think about FedEx, right? So when you want to do something big or you want to move a conversation, you want to make sure that you can break it down as quickly as possible. So breaking down your goals in general, so I would do 21 days, 90-day cycles, makes it really easy to manage and achieve. And this campaign, the way that we do this, I broke it down into 3 groups of 4 so that you can get clear on what you're doing, how you're planning, and then how you're going to actually activate this promotion. All right, so the 12-day strategy overview. When it comes to doing this, you have to determine 2 things. 1, are you trying to do this to boost holiday or year-end sales? Or are you trying to boost Q1 sales, right? So most retail brands will do year-end sales because that's what they're primarily focused on. But Q1, the first quarter of the year, post-holiday, is always a little softer for retail brands, right? It's harder for any brands that have to do with like celebration or self-care or investing in yourself, right? Because people have bills. So a lot of times I think people get so into, well, it's January, it's this, it's that, right? No, there's a really clear picture of, okay, well, the people that I'm trying to get to buy my services and products are experiencing this. So now it's time to respond or be proactive and respond in this way. So we're going to talk a little bit about both options and how you structure this. Okay, so for Q4 sales, now, the campaign dates are going to be December 1st to December 12th. These are the dates you'll run your campaign. And the goal is to build awareness for the last day of shopping to ship for Christmas arrival and to ensure that your biggest deals quickly follow Black Friday and Cyber Monday. What do I mean by that? Well, this also, let me put one more caveat on that. This has a lot to do with how your brand ships its products, right? Because we're talking about retail brands that are physical things. So if you know that you're going to have only until December 10th to actually make this product arrive by Christmas or New Year's, you may want to adjust these dates. If you know that if they order on the 12th, because of what's happening with shipping and how your products are fulfilled, there may be an issue. You want to make sure that you communicate that. You also want to make sure that you focus on exactly what it looks like for your ideal consumer when they're buying in bulk, right? So if they are going to buy things on Black Friday and then they are going to buy things on Cyber Monday, people are trained. We're all trained as consumers to say, all right, well, I'll wait for that, right? How many times have you said, I'll wait to buy a TV until Black Friday, or I'll wait to buy a TV until Cyber Monday, or towels or whatever, right? So you want to make sure that you are thinking about how that impacts your business and how you can make sure that you're getting the results that you're looking for. So pricing, Cyber Monday should be your steepest discount. This is normally 50 to 70% off your normal pricing for at least 24 hours. It is not about it's not about the price here, it's about the volume. So it's about how many sales you can get. So you need to determine what this looks like from a margins perspective before you pick your campaign discount percentage. It's different for every business, and it really varies based on what you're selling, where you're shipping it, and what costs of goods sold, are involved in this process. So the Promotions Waterfall, I've written a lot of content around this. It's something that we will be pinning to our boards in October to prepare for a big campaign in November. And what we do is Giving Tuesday is December 1st. So I always think about your waterfall, right? So how can you show your core values, what makes your brand special, and the things that your brand does that your ideal customer will consider as signals to them that you are the right service provider or product for their needs. So what I often recommend is you start with a bundle of 2 to 3 products and then increase the campaign until the last 3 days over the 12 days when you offer your biggest deals of the campaign to ensure those last minute shoppers see you as a viable option now and in the future. You only have one chance to get it right when it comes to shipping and arriving, right? You being there, helping them be the gift that keeps on giving, right? Or helping them get that done is a way to build trust. So it's really important that you think about what that looks like from your fulfillment side. For Q1 sales, you want to do the campaign from December 12th to the 24th. The goal is to build awareness for last minute shoppers and for shoppers who are looking for an experience that they can enjoy after the holidays. So it's great for course providers, it's great for fitness brands, and it's great for med spas or other service-based businesses, like any type of content creator, because then that helps you boost your sales and also allows you to start the new year with higher prices if that's something that you're considering. So you want to add value here, right? Services can only be discounted so much before it becomes hard to claim the value that you are assigning to that service. And there are also other costs here as well. So it's important to consider, what do you do when it comes to your margins? Who's going to be fulfilling these services, and how much capacity do you actually have? Most times service-based businesses need to put limits more so than retail, although I will say over the last 2 years, we have seen, due to some supply stuff, that we do have to put limits on things that we never would have had to in the past, right? So Sarah has a question. What if you only have one product? Great question. Well, if you only have one product, then you have to consider how you could give away something that is similar to what you're offering without necessarily being competitors' products. So what does that look like? You can do your product, you can do I don't know what your product is, Sarah, but if you tell us what it is, I'll happily kind of give you some ideas at the end. But you can do your product, you can do gift cards, you can do value add gift cards, you can do some sort of gift and share product, right? Like buy one for you, get one for a friend. People love a BOGO. And there are, I think, other ways that you can offer future products. This is a great time to get people to buy into pre-launches. It's also a great time to set up subscriptions. So really buying one product and then subscriptions is another one. So Emma, no discounts on any of your products because you've got high-end jewelry. So high-end jewelry is a little bit of a challenge, obviously, because you can't offer a discount there. However, you can still offer some sort of value. So the 12 days may become more of an education campaign, right? And the focus may be, I don't know if you do this, but I know a lot of the jewelry designers we work with, maybe a custom piece, right? Maybe somebody wins a custom piece or something like that, or a piece that you design that you want to share how you do these types of custom pieces. So personalized products, we can talk about that at the end. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And this is why I want to make sure I leave those 15 minutes at the end for Ask Fix Anything, because there's really always a way to use this cycle to educate, inform, and convert. Educate your ideal customer on why you could be something that they should consider. Inform them on how they can consider you and what it looks like to buy from you. and then finally convert them into whatever that looks like for you, whether it's getting them to sign up for future purchases, making them refer friends who just got engaged, or, telling somebody about it, getting a review, right? All those things matter, and all those things can be activated through a Pinterest first campaign. So this particular campaign relies very heavily on content marketing via a website, blog, or email or text marketing, and in organic social media. You can also pin your Instagram posts to your boards, your blogs, and your worksheets. You can do video overviews, you can do service videos, and you can also use it as a way to drive traffic back. So keep them as holiday focused as you can, like with holiday elements, right? But also make sure that you can keep them more generic too. And I know Cecilia asked, if pins last 3 to 5 months, can you recycle pins by reposting them? This depends on what your brand is, what your goal is, but there are some ways that you can recycle them by driving them to different pieces of content on your site. So creating your plan, 4 parts to your plan. Launching this successfully is about tracking the activity, using the data to make informed decisions, and ensuring that all activity can be monetized in the future. And there's 4 steps to do just that. So your website has to be ready to leverage the traffic from Pinterest. Claim your URL and claim a business account. How many people have a website? And then that's what I want to know. Put it in the deck if you're working without a website, or if you haven't claimed your website yet. I think most people have a website, but some folks don't. So I know that. So campaign content prep. Content on Pinterest lasts for a long time. It drives traffic back to most sites for at least 3 months. Okay, we've got some people who haven't claimed it yet, but they, yes, haven't claimed it yet. Awesome. So that's the first thing that you should do after today's workshop. And then you want to create a landing page for the campaign and ensure that when the campaign is over, the page has content that will help you grow your business so that you don't lose all the hard work that you've put into the campaign. So why are we making a separate page? We're making a separate page because we want to know how many people we drove for that specific campaign. It can be embedded in your site. It should be embedded in your site, but it also allows you for all platforms to create an audience, if you're doing paid, and we'll talk a little bit about that, that you can retarget for future flash sales or other campaigns. It is something that I think is really important when you are determining what success over the long haul looks like for you. And you need to make sure that that's something you establish at the beginning of the campaign. So paid media campaign prep. How are you going to promote your pins? What's your budget? The SBA recommends any small business trying to reach consumers that those small businesses spend 20% of gross profits annually on marketing. So this is a challenge, right? I get it. My entire business is word of mouth. We are getting ready to invest in marketing, but we haven't had to yet. So I understand when you've had such good success, right? Or when you've had the ability to grow quickly, you also want to kind of plan for a rainy day. And that's where maybe you're not spending 20% on this campaign, but maybe you're slowly considering how you can make that part of your budget for the long haul. So most business to business brands spend 5 to 10% of their gross profits on marketing. The other thing to consider when you're thinking about, am I a business to consumer or am I a business to business? I believe that most consumers may also have their own business, right? A lot of us are also business owners. So you're selling to humans. So to me, you really want to get into the heart of what that looks like for your brand and then what that looks like for your business long-term. So the conversation hook, remember I said we were going to talk about those hooks? The point of using a 12-day campaign around the holidays is to do what every other business and brand is doing with your own unique twist, right? If you're a liquor brand, and you have a tequila, you should be talking about tequila. If you're a liquor brand and you have bourbon, we do this for one of our clients, they talk about bourbon during National Bourbon Month, which was last month. And we use that because they're having a holiday bourbon come out. So we use that in retargeting, right? We prospect people who might be interested and then we retarget them. What that means is that we go out to people that we think are going to be interested in this based on the conversations they're having or based on the other things that they have engaged with within our own channels and within competitors' channels. And then we say, okay, here's how we're going to offer you something different, right? It's the conversation that's happening. I mean, the Facebook conversation, Facebook down. How many people are talking about that, right? And everybody went to Twitter and LinkedIn to talk about that. So it's helpful because it allows you to be part of something that is moving quickly, but it also, if you do it right, helps you stay separate from the pack because you can clearly identify what makes you different. So it's something that the market has been trained to expect. I mean, how many of you have done this, thought about doing this? Christmas in July, things like this come up on an annual basis, and you can use these annual campaigns to determine which ones are right for you and which ones need to be test campaigns and which ones need to be consistently part of your marketing process. So here's an example of a campaign we did for a store. They have a brick and mortar store. We did this last year, and what we did was they did live shows because during the pandemic, that was like a big thing for them. But then last December, as things started opening up, they had less and less traffic, less and less sales via their live shows. So what we did was, okay, well, let's remind them why they like to get connected to this show and what they loved about the show during the pandemic. There is a lot of this Zoom fatigue, right? There is a lot of like engagement fatigue is what I call it. But there are ways to make people see something consistently and help by providing value. This campaign actually did really well. It helped them get back up to the sales that they were having in October, and it made them end the year strong and set them up for a very successful Q1, which for retail brands, like I said earlier, is not always the case. So we used this for their email marketing. We used this for their website banner. We used this for ads. We also used this for some of like their initial social posts, and then these were all their social posts. And every single thing that the leader, the founder of the company, who was also the head stylist, talked about had to do with these different quotes, right? This day was a journal because it was about creating the future you want, right? She's a very intentional business owner. This one was more about like home improvement and self-improvement. And this one was lipstick, I think, if that's the one that, it was either lipstick or a bath bomb. It's been a year. So the next part is promoting your campaign. Pin with friends. Make one of the days a pin your New Year's goal campaign and require that every board use one of your campaign pins to drive back to the landing page. Kate Spade did this in 2012, and you can still find these pins. They're not always at the top, but they create entire boards of what that looks like so that you then have more traffic to go back to. I've got some examples in here as well. In terms of organic content, you need at least 10 to 15 days before the campaign starts to promote this. The goal is to grow your email list and text message list if you're not thinking about that, so you can continue to remarket to these customers. So think about, how am I driving people back to my environment? How am I using Pinterest to do that? So what am I pinning? Am I pinning lifestyle images? Am I pinning images from users? Am I pinning quotes from reviews, right? All of these pieces of content can be used to drive back to your brand and your business. The paid campaign should start on your most engaged platform around October 25th. It's usually best to start on the last Monday in October, no matter what date that falls on. It allows you to get ahead of the investment made by global brands for their holiday campaigns. So if you're a smaller business and you're spending less, think about those stats that I gave you earlier. There are businesses that are spending more than that, right? So you want to make sure that if you are doing paid, you've got a little bit ahead of the curve, and then you can also actually get some data that will be useful to you. So text messages are generally opened within 3 seconds at a 98% open rate for most brands, and 70 to 80% of consumers want text messages from brands that they work with, but only 30% of brands do text message marketing. And that does also include the, hey, your food's ready, or hey, you can come in now text messages. So the other thing to consider is use an email to follow up with customers who haven't reviewed your products, right? So anybody who has bought your products in the last year, you can send them an email, ask them for a review, and put a small section, maybe with just a header or one graphic or your pin, talking about the campaign that you are going to be launching so that they understand what's coming. You're not marketing to them, you're just following up to ask for a review. It's also great for service-based businesses to do surveys at this point in time, because that's not a marketing email, that's an informational email. And usually you have the ability to get the information that you need. It just depends on how you're doing it. But this is something that I think a lot of people forget about. Whenever we set goals for ourselves or our clients, internally we do SMART goals. And then with our clients, I like to say ready, set, goals. So what's your business goal? This is the money goal, right? What's your engagement goal? How are you going to use Pinterest to grow your business? Is your focus going to be on sales from pins? Is your focus going to be on traffic? Do you just want more of your content pinned? That's when you're pinning with friends. And then which area of my funnel needs to grow the most? Are you really looking for more global brand awareness? Then you really need to think about the titles, the descriptions, and then any tags that you might be using, and what you're putting on the websites, and the words that you're putting in the pins. So, shop or new or buy now, all those types of call to actions, and you can get tons of them online, and you can also see other examples online. I've got some examples here as well. That all helps you grow that brand awareness to conversion, but maybe you just need more activity. So maybe you want to ask people to pin with you with their favorite look from your product line, or with how they use your product, or do a video review of how they use your product that you could then use in pins, right? From our crew, from our folks, from our whatever you call them. So monetizing your pins. So this Pinterest campaign was the one from Kate Spade that I was talking about. I actually pulled this because some of the pages don't exist anymore, which is the way, right? So I pulled this from their Tumblr, and I had to do a little bit of deep searching on the internet for that. But essentially what they did in 2012 was that they paired up with Vespa, and what they asked people to do was to pin ride colorfully. And the thing that you had to pin was this post right here, the blue or the green Vespa in the bottom surrounded by red, right? Or the one that you see on the blog post, right? Those two pins were all featured on this page that they had. And then you had to pin from that, but then you also had to pin things that would make your vacation, if you got a Vespa, even better, right? So what does ride colorfully mean for you? People pinned, and most of those pins, I believe it was 5 back in the day, is what they were asking for. So 5 of those pins had to come from their website. So I think that this is a great way to monetize your pins, because what they did is by making people pin from product pages, now they have more volume on those pins. And this was way before Pinterest had a lot of different innovations when it comes to pins. So that's something to think about for your brand as well. Years ago, I managed the launch of this brand, Link AKC. Every pin that they have, they've shifted a little bit. They were owned by the AKC, and now things have changed. But they did a big campaign with Kate Upton and Harley, her dog, her boxer. I don't know if she's still her dog, but that was her dog at the time. And all the other images were images that we either sourced from photo stock libraries or from users. We had a Facebook group for them as well, just like Planoly does. And it's a great way to get feedback from your community. And then we pin them, and they're still here, right? Oh, can you still hear me? Bree, I'm sorry. Can everybody hear me? If there's any issues, just let me know. Great. So the pins that we used here, we also pulled on the blog, and it kept driving traffic back. But we also used them on social. So this is a way that we monetize the pins, because every single one went back to a blog page that included a way to buy the product. This was, I would say, about 5 or 6 years ago now. And then This Old House, my favorite of them all. So when I was an intern at This Old House back in my college days, we used to do pumpkins. We used to do like the wackiest pumpkins that you could carve, right? And Home Depot was a big sponsor of that. And then I said, well, if we're doing that, why don't we look for other contests like this? So there is, or was back then, a gingerbread house competition, that people use Dremel drills and all of the stuff that you use to build actual houses, to build gingerbread houses that look like their own homes. It used to take place in North Carolina. And what we did was we went out to all the old winners and to the contest themselves, and we pulled all these different images. And they were so detailed. This is something that they still do. And they did it for about 5 years, and it got a huge ad campaign as well. And then the Catio, as I had talked about. So what you're looking at here is really, there's the hero image that makes you interested, right? You're like, oh, this is cool. Like, I like this. And this is ideal for their audience. Then you say, okay, so what else is this? What am I looking for? Are there easy steps? Now, if we were doing this, we would include steps on the pins. We would include numbers. We would include a little bit more text, just to catch people's eye even faster, right? And then it all drives back to the website, and it's fully branded to make sure that you have that your customer has the experience that you want them to have. So here's some creative ideas with our branding for 2022. I pull a lot of my own quotes that we use, and then we also are driving back to websites, downloadables, explanations of how we work. And these all go in your blogs, right? And then they also allow you to use different landing pages if you want, but it pulls your whole visual identity. This is really all about my personal brand within the brand of the agency. So it allows you to really get clear on, oh, this is what this person is doing. Downloadables are a great way to get people to engage. You could also do a workshop just like this, like Planoly is doing now. And then explanation, education. There are so many things that people forget when it comes to educating their ideal consumer, and pins are a great way to do that. We are at 12:46. I see we've got 10 or whatever time you are, but we are 46 minutes into the presentation, and we've got 10 questions in the Q&A. I have not opened that. So Catherine, if you would be so kind as to let me know where we're at with that. And if you want to learn more about how I work, like I said, and what I do and how I use automation, like Planoly, to grow our businesses and our clients' businesses, you can join us in my Facebook group, but I will also be in the Planoly Facebook group later today for any questions. I can't hear you.
Thank you so much, Vix. That was such an informational presentation. And I know you are doing an amazing job answering some questions live, but we do have a few in our chat box to go over. It seems like we had a few that came up talking about how 15 to 20 posts just felt like a lot to people for a day. And was wondering how, if you have any tips for people on scheduling out, or just kind of ways to make that feel less daunting.
Yeah, so I know it's daunting. I know it's not easy for anybody. Like I said, I am the cobbler, no shoes. We are currently planning, right? Our Pinterest. So it takes time, but if you take the time to build these things before you build the blog, then you have a better chance of getting it out there. Why is it important to have this many? Because you want the volume, right? And you can repin. It can include, yes, I have my dog on my lap now. It can include your original pins, and you can repin different things. Like I said, every blog that you're doing, which could also be every sales page, should give you 15 to 20 posts. So you should be able to figure out the different, like for example, with a product page, you can talk about size, you can talk about fit, you can talk about availability, color, you can talk about how it was made, you can talk about where it's made, you can talk about if there is like a component behind the inspiration. You can also highlight the founder, the creator. And then, we're at 8 now. So there are a lot of ways. You just have to strategically think about what you want to communicate and what will attract your audience most. Is that helpful?
I think it was helpful. And I think also the second part of that question was, do they really need to do that? So you don't
need to do it. I mean, you need, like, what do we need? No, we're not using the same images with different headlines. We're using different pieces of the images. You don't need to do anything except, as pay taxes and breathe, right? That's all you need, and drink water. We are complicated houseplants, but you need if you think that your business will benefit from more traffic, which I think every business will, you need to figure out how you can get to a place where that matters for you. That's why data is so important. Do 15 to 20 pins for 21 days. See if it makes a difference in your traffic. If it doesn't, that time, energy, money, and creativity should be spent on another area of your business. You have to test it.
I love that. And that was the sheer amount of posts that you need on Pinterest was one of the inspirations for our pin planner. Is it just makes it really easy to schedule out all your campaigns at one time, so you can do batch scheduling. So we have, if you guys visit our blog too, we have lots of posts on directions on how to do that. But staying on topic, I think you touched on this a little bit, Vix, but if pins last for quite a while, what does that mean? Can we recycle and repost those photos?
You absolutely can recycle and repost those photos. The easiest way to get more content is to do what magazines do, or what they used to do, which is the most viewed content of the month. The 5 most viewed stories are 10 top pins of the month, right? When you think about your content as an editorial calendar, like in the true sense of the word, where you're like, okay, what am I going to fill it with? If you think about recycling and responding to your customers, UGC, user generated content, should be your biggest bucket, and it should take care of as many of your like image needs as possible. Now, not always the case, because sometimes people don't take a good picture of your product, or like some of your products, sandals. Like anytime we have a brand that's like shoes, I'm like, feet are hard. But there's a lot of other things that you can work around with that. So that's where pinning with friends, give them an example of what an ideal pin for your brand is, and then see what your audience can create and reward them.
Awesome. I love that. Let's see. We have so many, it's hard to choose from. This maybe could be inspirational for other people. It's an idea for a specific campaign. So one person said, I designed custom handmade wedding stationery. Would creating custom holiday cards and perhaps wax seal be a good holiday campaign?
That is the best holiday campaign, I think, because people, so weddings, right? Like your 12 days where you would make the most money may not be Christmas, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's more like a April thing, right? If you're someone who teaches people how to budget and that's your service, right? You may want to talk to people in the new year, right? But there could be something that you could still offer. I love the idea of creating something custom, because then you could turn the 12 days into a contest, which will increase your engagement. So instead of giving discounts on your products for 12 days, you can ask people to enter via Instagram, pin, whatever works for you, right? Like, I don't know where your brand, I'd have to look at your data to say your brand is most active here, right? But if we're doing it on Pinterest, ask everybody to pin for 12 days. That not only gives you pins to recycle, there you go, make them do 15 pins, they did your work for you. And you could start with 5 a week. I'm seeing that channel and that question in the comments, but make them do the work. And then you can not only show that you're listening to your audience, because people forget it's a two-way street, but it also helps you get more creative and have like a product that maybe you wouldn't have made anyway. So now you're making a new product and you have more revenue streams.
Great. Let's see. I'm going to just dive into another one. This one was around when you were talking about audiences on Pinterest. Someone had a question about regarding the planner, the saver, the savvy shopper. Was curious that if on Pinterest, brands align with high price point on that platform too. So
I do think that sometimes, like Kate Spade, I think I wouldn't necessarily call like a savvy shopper brand, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's all relative, right? Like, for people who have private jets, of which I am not one, like certain things are easy to pay for, right? Like that's all relative. So that is really more about doing the work for your avatar, for your customer, and seeing how much they earn. I do know from research that we've done in the past, we typically find that our consumer on Pinterest is in a higher income bracket and also looking to buy when they come on Pinterest. So that is something to consider. Like it's over, the exact stat is falling out of my brain, but I would say it's like over 80%.
Yeah.
Because I know it's high. It's on the higher end.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I know countless friends who have secret boards for pinning like rings that they want. And, I think that there's a big market. And like you said, it's once people are really ready to buy is when they go to Pinterest and they're looking for inspiration. So I don't think it's limited. And I think it doesn't include more pricier brands as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Are there any that jumped out to you? To start, I want to make sure you answer what you want to too.
Digital downloads, dates are different. Yep. Could you use a Google UTM? Okay, so we had another question. Could you use a Google UTM link instead of a landing page? Yes. So this is a tracking link for your site that talks about what the campaign is, the source, where the source is, and what the content is. You could do that, right? The problem with doing that is that you're still driving the traffic to the same page. So you would just have to, if you do want to build a retargeting audience lookalike from that, you would want to make sure that you're using the exact URL that you used for that. Is there an app that I recommend for text message marketing? Yes, Keep. That's why we use it. It does everything. And Sarah, you're confused about the landing page. If you have a website, do you also need a landing page? So the difference between a landing page and a website is that your website has everything. Like if you're driving people to yourbrand.com, you're missing an opportunity for conversion because people don't know where to go, right? Like you should never spend money to drive someone to your homepage. Think of your homepage like the front door. And would you want somebody to drive up on your lawn? No, you want them to drive into your driveway. I mean, unless they're in your lawn, like, you do you. But I think that the more important thing to consider is like, if I'm going to drive them to this page, where should they go? What's the first thing that they look at? Are they coming from mobile, right? That's why you need a landing page, because a landing page allows you to be really specific and you can design it for mobile audiences. Most brands, it's over 60% come from mobile. Even iPads are considered mobile, but that mobile experience on an iPad is a lot different than an iPhone. And, those mobile experiences are different. So think about the experience that they're having. That's where a landing page helps you grow. And it's that. So if there's any other questions about that, I'm happy to go through. So someone else asked about the minimum daily spending in terms of ad campaigns. That depends on your brand. We recommend at least 1,000 a month for 1,000 per campaign. Let's use it that way. So for a 21-day campaign, I always recommend at least $1,000. You could start with 500, but I like you to get the data that you need, and you're better off doing it for the holiday. I'm happy to talk about the CBD one. If we have 3 minutes, you want me to go into that?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Go for it.
So the CBD tea company, I know, so anybody who's in like we do a lot of liquor and I love it. I like the highly regulated stuff. We do stuff with insurance brokers and money and everything FDIC, right? Anything regulated is my favorite thing to do because it really means that you have to get like creative. And that's why people call me Vix, because I got the fix. So when it comes to, hey, it was a funny joke that became a brand. So for the CBD tea company, you could do so many great things because you don't necessarily have to own, like you don't have to give away your product, because I wouldn't recommend that with anything that's regulated, right? But you could do a giveaway of like slippers, and you could pair with brands and work together as a co-op, right? So you get together with 3 or 4 or 5 brands and you say, we're gonna all drive to this landing page. We're gonna all do this campaign together. We're gonna share the emails and the cell phone numbers that come in, and we're gonna share the spend. And if you work with a brand that's much bigger, they take a bigger piece of the spend. I think that we see each other for traffic as competitors so much more often than we could see each other as supporters of one another. It's like for a wedding brand, right? Like you have so many other people who could be interested in shoes, but you're doing stationery, you're not selling wedding shoes, or you're doing gift cards for a couple's astrology reading, right? Like, you're not selling shoes, it doesn't matter. You just want the same people who are interested. So smaller businesses, and we do this with our clients. Like, I will literally say to our clients, who can we work with to help you grow your business without making the investment all on your back?
Yeah. Well, I know we are coming up at time. I saw a few questions asking about a recording because obviously this was a lot of great information, and we will be sending out a recording of this session. So not to worry if you guys weren't able to write everything down, it will be coming your way to the email that you registered with. And with that, I just want to say thank you again so much, Vix. It was such a pleasure to have you on, and wish everyone luck planning your holiday campaign. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.